so I started playing Cross Tag Battle about 2 days ago, and I gotta say, it's a very fun game. Even though I never got to play the game online, it's honestly been a ton of fun just to fight the AI. The game has a fun roster of interesting characters, and the new gameplay mechanics are very intuitive and fun to learn, so I thought it would be fun to give my honest review of the game so far. And please keep in mind the game might change a little bit on release, so the few complaints that I do have about this game might not be there on day one. So with all that said, let's start the review. I've decided to split my impressions into 2 parts, the good stuff and the bad stuff, and it's mostly good, so let's start things off on a positive note. First and foremost, the game has useful mechanics that are very simple to learn. First off, every character has the same reversal and it's just 2 buttons. Or at least I think every character has it. I've heard that maybe 1 or 2 don't because they're very zone heavy characters, very keep away heavy characters, but for a vast majority of the cast it's just 2 buttons and it gets the opponent off of you. Now thankfully it's very punishable, so it's a very good high risk, high reward kind of situation. It doesn't cost you any meter, but it could cost you your entire health bar if you make a mistake. This game does have some pretty high damaging combos, so while these reversals are very useful, they do carry a lot of risk with them. The game also has a very unique and interesting combo breaker mechanic. Basically, your partner just comes in from off screen and tackles the opponent, which is both fun to see and very fun to do in an actual match. And thankfully, this combo breaker does not make you invincible on startup, so if you're not careful, the opponent can actually hit both of your characters for a happy birthday combo. So you gotta make sure you pick and choose when to break the combo. If you come in randomly, you might just get both characters hit. So it's a pretty fair and balanced mechanic. It also doesn't cost any of your super meter. Instead, it's an entirely different meter which is used for tag combos. So if you use this move to escape pressure, you can no longer do any fancy tag combos for a little bit, especially if you're being pressured by the opponent, because from my experience, that meter doesn't actually refill while you're blocking or being attacked. So you have to make sure to go on the offensive if you want to get that meter back. Now the one thing I don't like about it is it does damage to the opponent, which seems a bit unfair if you're low on health and comboing the opponent, then they come in from above and kill you. It's kinda hard to see that coming and a bit unfair to be killed when you're actively hitting the opponent. So I don't like that it does damage, and the meter does kinda refill a bit too easy, so it's not a huge punishment for doing it unless you just keep laying on the pressure, then they can't do anything. But if they get the combo breaker and then go on the offensive, it's kinda easy to get their meter back, so it's not a huge consequence. The only real risk to it is the happy birthday factor, but honestly I do believe it's still a very good combo breaker system. Just a few tiny tweaks here and there would make it a bit better. The game also has an interesting comeback mechanic which can only be done once your character has died. So you have to have only 1 character left on your team before you can even do this comeback mechanic. And the comeback mechanic is pretty straightforward, albeit very, very strong. Your chip damage goes up a ton and your damage goes up a ton. And also your super meter refills on its own and can refill higher than ever before. Before it could only refill to about, I think, 5 bars, and then it can refill to 9, and it's actively refilling as your gauge is going down, right? Your comeback mechanic is on a timer, it's not infinite, but it does last for a pretty good amount of time. And what's even more fascinating to me is this comeback mechanic actually lasts longer depending on how many assists you do on your team. Every time you do a few assists, you actually build how long this can last for. You get a little tiny diamond on screen, and you can have up to 4, and if you have all 4 filled, then your comeback mechanic is that much better. Which means the more assists you do, the better your comeback's going to be when you lose one of your characters. Which you ultimately will if you're playing a good opponent. You're going to lose 1 character, and then your comeback mechanic is going to be OP because you were really good about calling in your teammate and doing a lot of cool fancy tag combos. Or just some assists for pressure. Pretty fun comeback mechanic in my opinion, really solid. And I know that might have sounded like a big mouthful of information, but here's the crazy thing. I'm just barely scratching the surface there. There's actually a lot more stuff in this game, but none of it feels overwhelming. It's not very hard to keep track of, and it's very straightforward. It's not like Dragon Ball FighterZ where you have to learn what move counters which, and which mechanic is beaten by what, and what all the crazy frame advantage is. It's actually very straightforward in how these mechanics work, so that's very nice. Another really great aspect about this game is your teams feel alive. Every character in the game has 3 different assists instead of just 1, which makes them far more versatile in a match, while also adding a lot more depth to the game in general. Unlike in Dragon Ball FighterZ where you pick a character based on that 1 assist, you can basically play whoever you want because you have a bunch of assists to choose from. You have 3 different assists, and chances are one of those assists is very useful towards your playstyle. And sure, there obviously will be some characters who benefit your playstyle more, so if all you're going for is a certain playstyle, then you do want to team up certain characters together. But I just love how having 3 assists makes every character more viable, so basically any team you make will still be practical. And hopefully that means a lot more character variety at tournaments. That's my prediction at least. And the tag system itself is very intuitive. I touched on it a bit earlier, but there's actually a separate meter just for your assists. And this doesn't go down if you just do a raw tag in or a raw assist, but it does go down 1 bar if you tag in your opponent for a combo. And you don't just have to settle for that single attack. You can actually tag in your opponent and then have them switch entirely. So in other words, if I do a special move with a certain character, I can do a certain assist to where my tag character actually stays in and then extends the combo. It costs me 1 bar of meter, but it's an option that I can always have. And it makes the combos a lot more creative and a lot more fun. There's honestly so much room for creativity here. And initially I was a bit worried that every character would have the same sort of combo flow. Since there is only 3 attack buttons in this game, the 4th button actually switches out your characters. And so I was a bit worried that it would be a bit simple with the combos and it would be very bread and butter copy and paste, but it's definitely not. Sometimes like certain characters from the same game play similarly, but if you switch to a different game character, like from BlazBlue to Persona, then they play entirely different and it's an entirely different ballgame. Their combos are structured entirely different and you have to learn to adjust your playstyle accordingly. So that's going to give the game a lot more life. It's going to last for a lot longer because there are so many different playstyles to choose from in the game. So many different character possibilities, how you can match them up and play this character with that character. This game's going to have a very long lifespan for that reason alone. Okay, so that's all the positive stuff that I have to say about this game. So let's go ahead and move on to the negative. And keep in mind, I do love how this game plays, but it wouldn't be a fair review if I left out the negative stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about that. First off, it has the annoying hub-style lobby, which I personally hate. It's very similar to Dragon Ball FighterZ. You start the game, you enter this little lobby mode, and then you walk to different parts of the map to do different types of gameplay. So if you want to play ranked, you walk over to the ranked area. If you want to do casual, you walk to the casual area. If you want to watch replays or go to practice mode, you walk to different areas on the map. And I might be a bit old-fashioned, but I prefer the straightforward start menu. I really wish that would be an option when this game finally comes out. Don't force me to join a lobby, just let me have my start menu, let me hit ranked, and let me start playing people. If I want to do a private match, don't have me join a lobby and then make an arena match, just let me hit private match and invite my friends. Please keep it simple. I prefer that so much more. I don't want to waste my time with a little chibi character, walking around to a certain part of the map or forcing my buddy to join my lobby and then find where I am on the map so he can join me. I don't want to do any of that extra stuff. Don't give me any more hoops to jump through. I just want a very simple and straightforward way of playing with my buddies or playing with random people online. I don't need the whole lobby thing. I wish it was optional, I really do. But that's a personal gripe, so let's move on to actual gameplay flaws. So the game has a few too many mechanics in my opinion, and some of them aren't explained very well in the game at all. I had to actually watch YouTube videos to understand some of the more complex mechanics. Not because they're complicated, but because they're not explained very well, it's very vague. All you have is text on screen. Now with that said, these mechanics won't get you killed in an actual match just because you don't fully understand them. Instead, these mechanics are merely complements to the core gameplay structure. Another small gripe I have is the damage is a bit high, especially considering how short these combos actually are. Now I don't actually mind how short the combos are, but the damage just seems a bit extreme because you barely touch the opponent. You do about 10 to 15 hits, and you've done about 40% damage, or at least 30. And keep in mind that's not including super. So if I did some crazy stuff, which I don't know how to do yet, but if I know how to do a crazy combo, and then do a tag assist, and then extend the combo, and then do super, that's easily 40 to 50% of my opponent's health bar, just for barely touching them, and it didn't require that much effort. The combo wasn't that insane. So hopefully the damage is a bit lower when the game does come out. And this next part's gonna sound a bit weird because I just complained about the combo damage, but I wish the combos were a bit longer. They feel a bit short in this game. Yes, you can extend them with a tag assist, but the opponent will eventually fall out of your combo rather quickly because the hit stun decays very rapidly. So for anyone who's not very familiar with fighting games, every time you hit the opponent in a combo, those hits do a little less stun every single time. That's why eventually the opponent will fall out of your combo. Even if you're hitting them appropriately, they'll just recover too soon and your hit will not connect, so they'll get to escape. And in most fighting games, that only happens when your combo goes on forever, like over 30 seconds long or something crazy like that. But in this game, it happens pretty quickly, so it's up to you to memorize how short your combo has to be, otherwise the opponent will drop out and you'll whiff something big like a super. And speaking of supers, there is one weird limitation in this game. You can't actually cancel your special moves into super, at least not for any of the characters that I've played. Now I have heard you can link into them, but that's not the same thing. Once again, in my experience, you can't do normal attacks, then a special attack, and then cancel that special move into a super. Now you could do a special move into an assist, and then go into super after that. That's completely possible. You could also switch into another character and then do a combo, like a few normal attacks and then cancel that into super. You can always cancel a normal attack into super most of the time, but I haven't found any character who can cancel their special moves into super, and that feels a bit weird, but I think it may have been an intentional nerf because the normal attacks do so much damage, the combos in general do so much damage, that I think they felt the supers would be a bit too much, so they put a skill barrier in the way. You have to know how to combo into it correctly if you want to get the super. You basically have to do a character assist, or you have to do something special to get enough hits done to combo directly into the super without a cancel. So that's about it for my review of Cross Tag Battle. Once again, a very fun game with very interesting characters and very creative combo mechanics. The game itself is also quite easy to pick up and play, even if you're not a fighting game veteran. So if you like any of these characters from any of the games, then I definitely recommend picking it up because every character in this game feels very viable, and you can pair them up pretty much however you want. Once again, certain pairings will be stronger than others, but if you want to pair a certain character with a certain character, you can go ahead and do that and it's going to be practical. And while it can be a bit daunting to learn all of these new mechanics, they're just complements to the core gameplay, they're nothing essential, so you can just learn them over time through playing the game itself. Now alright everyone, that concludes my review. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then please leave a like down below. And while you're down there, go ahead and post a comment too. What's your favorite thing about this game? And if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the bell. That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.